Now start again with that quote Buddha said. I always think this quote is so precious, so profound. He said, I have seen deeply that nothing can exist completely by itself alone, that everything depends on each other. And I have seen that all beings are capable, possessing the nature of awakening. Okay, that's the... So this verse explains our own state of being. Happiness and sadness arise and depends upon cause and condition. So the meaning of this verse is, if you think, it's very profound and very unique. So I think this is important to understand, because knowing this, we recognize that our well-being is related to the well-being of all other beings. That's why we must take responsibility for our actions. When the negative emotions of 5 poisons arise in our mind, they disturb us and cause deep unhappiness. And this verse from the Buddha is also telling us that we are capable of getting rid of our negative afflictions and awakening from disturbing emotions by following the teachings of Four Noble Truths from the Buddha, so that we can diminish our negative karma from the past and prevent our negative karma from arising in the future. So therefore, we need Dharma teachings so that we understand what is right, what is wrong, and how to conduct ourselves with discipline. Not knowing the real nature of truth, we are generating desire for what we like, and we are generating hatred for what we don't like. And an uncontrolled mind can cause a great deal of harm. But peaceful mind can create a sense of profound well-being. So as Buddhists, we believe that all our actions are depend on the state of our mind. And And as you know, our enlightenment depends not only on the Buddha showing us the way, but also our practice of meditation. Remember, Buddha said, I have shown you the method that lead to liberation, but you should know that liberation depends on yourself. So without much meditation, everything becomes intellectual knowledge. That's not so good. Although Dharma teaching, we need it, educate ourselves. But only intellectual knowledge is not so good, because the great master Longchenpa said that if you are not able to practice the essential meaning of the teachings, then even if you understand hundreds of teachings, volumes of teachings, it will not bring much benefit, right? So the purpose of teaching is to benefit us if we study them, and if we put some of them into our daily practice, it helps us live more peacefully and harmoniously. That is what is important. And if we receive a lot of teachings without practice them, then what will happen to us is we become a chutit in Tibetan. We become a rigid kind of person, stubborn person. Chu means dharma, tit means rigid. It means we don't have any good feeling for dharma practice anymore. That means like when we hear the teachings, we think, oh, I know that. It's like you know how to make a good tea, but you never drink it. So basically, you don't know the taste of the tea, but you think you know it. Intellectual understanding the teaching, the teachings put into your practice, and you have some experience of the teaching, that is so different than intellectual understanding, only intellectual understanding. So we think we know the teachings, but basically we don't know, because we don't experience, we don't have experience. That will happen to us if we only receive teachings without practicing. So that's why Longchenpa says that having only intellectual knowledge will not bring you much benefit. So it is important to reflect upon what brings benefits into our daily life, and what gives the most meaning to our lives. So as I said, Buddha said, a human life, this precious human life, is a gift beyond measure, which is, a great blessing. So it's important to understand the preciousness of this life. Knowing this, we must take good care of it. Take good care of it. While we have opportunities, we should do our best to make our human life meaningful. And it's important for us to use our intelligence towards positive direction. Padmasambhava said that if we accomplish our practice like Bodhicitta, like the nature mind, like discovering Buddha nature, then the later part of our life will be happier than earlier part. That means we will experience increasing amount of happiness. So, human beings have great potential that can be realized. Of course, as an ordinary person, sometimes sometimes we make big mistakes. We make mistakes every single day. As we're ordinary people, we do not have a skillful method for looking clearly at our negative emotions, because we don't really understand the pervasive, all pervasive suffering. Therefore, we need Dharma teachings, and we need try to put Dharma teachings into our daily life, and it can help us find our true path. It gives us the ability to discover the Buddha nature. As I said, in the sutras that Buddha explained, that there is not a single living being who lacks this potential, their Buddha nature. But only we human beings have the chance to discover it. Although animals have it, but there's no way. That's why human life is precious. That's why we're very fortunate. So we should, or we can, start by practicing the path of satisfaction, by limiting our desire. I think it's important to remember each and as every minute passes, we are closer and closer to the end of this life. Each second, minute, day, month, we are closer and closer to the end of this life. It's very important to remember. But just thinking that is not good. Because it can make you uncomfortable and fearful. What is the point? Just to remember and thinking about, oh, I'm closer and closer to the death, end of my life. Just thinking that is not good, because it makes you uncomfortable. But if we use that as a motivation, as a method to do something meaningful, and at least do our best to make ourselves happy each and every day, then think about that. It's really good. Then that motivation or that method, thinking that, oh, I'm closer to the death, you're going to do something good, something meaningful, at least for yourself. Makes your life not miserable, happy. So remember the impermanence, we call it, right? Impermanence of life. It's important if you do something because of thinking about that. If you don't do anything and just to think about impermanence, no point. It makes you really uncomfortable. But thinking that really helps you. Oh, I don't have long time, so I have to do something with my capacity, something good for others. If I can't, then at least myself happy every day. Enjoy that I have this precious human life. Who knows when I die, then after that, what will happen? So don't only think of the negative side that you're getting closer to the death, but also think about what you're going to do with this precious time you have to make it best life you can. That's why other religious people can't understand this. Oh, Buddhists think about this samsara is suffering, think about life is permanent. What is the point, right? That's true, actually. If you just think that, doing nothing, then what is the point? So never think, don't only think of negative side. But if you use it as a method, as a motivation, wonderful instruction or, method, So we have to take advantage of this precious human life, at least to make ourselves happy each and every day if we can. The good people, bodhisattvas, they make other people happy. But as ordinary people like us, maybe we don't have that capacity. That's okay. At least make ourselves happy each and every day and try not to cause harm to ourselves and others, and maintain our motivation to practice the Dharma daily, and try to keep good and positive thoughts, right? Then think about precious human life, think about impermanence of life, think about suffering of samsara, all good. As I always say, if we practice bodhicitta, we have a sincere, truthful, kind heart that will help us to have a happy life. It makes us powerfully beneficial to ourselves, at least, and more than that, beneficial to others. So in the morning, you make a commitment that all your action that day will benefit yourself, benefit others, help others as much as possible, right? I tell you this all the time. So I really hope you do this every morning and try not to separate this amazing motivation from your mind. All the extremely profound and vast teachings of the Mahayana, including view, meditation, and conduct, everything comes from this and nowhere else. Without relying on this kind heart, kind mind, we cannot attain liberation by any other path. So for this reason, we have to develop it from the beginning of our journey until we attain enlightenment. So every practice we do with bodhicitta becomes a cause of liberation. Even 1 second, think about bodhicitta, become a cause of enlightenment. So we can take this journey slowly and keep going without giving up. As Bhakti Rinpoche said, it is gradually by stages of action that we become a virtuous one, not all at once. I think there are many, even Buddhist practitioners, misunderstanding the essence of Dharma practice. A lot of people think the essence of Dharma practice is to receive, Dzogchen teachings, receive empowerment from famous teachers, so that you can get blessings without doing nothing, right? So my teachers say, Buddhist practitioners, you actually don't know who is genuine sort of Buddhist practitioner. Sometimes there's people show that everything is like very genuine and according to the, Buddhist teachings, and show like very, like outwardly, you can tell, oh, he or she must be very good practitioner, but inside it's totally ordinary. Some people show like this outwardly like very negative and ordinary person, but inwardly they have a full of realization, bodhicitta practice. So you really don't know. People think, oh, this is very famous Buddhist teacher. So I want to see him. I want to receive something, not necessarily a genuine Dharma practitioner because of famous. So people really think that like, oh, somebody's teaching today, like Bodhicitta. People are not so interested, like, oh, this teachers, given the Dzogchen teachings and all this kind of empowerment, oh, then you really wanted to receive it. Mistaken. Look at what Buddha did right after his enlightenment. What was his first teaching? As I said, recognize, he said, basically recognize that we are suffering. So he taught the Four Noble Truths to liberate us from suffering. Not just to give right after his enlightenment, oh, I have now like capacity, I can give empowerment and this and that. No. So if you investigate the Four Noble Truths, you will understand that the main point of this teaching is the recognition of suffering. Why do we suffer? It's because of our selfish motivation. So in this book, I want you to understand how to practice Buddhism and what you need to develop at the beginning of your journey. I want you to have a good foundation. So I wrote these things in my book, and if you have it, you should read the book, My first root teacher, Kanchen Pama Tsewa, always said that the special method to subdue our wild and out of control mind is solely the precious good heart of bodhicitta. Practice bodhicitta. That's the best. That's the best and special method to subdue our selfish mind, period. No Dzogchen teachings, no empowerments, and period. Practice bodhicitta. That's the special and precious good method. So therefore, without looking for anything else, practice it as much as you can. So here I would like to read something that I wrote in my book. Look at page number 86 if you have the book. Page number 86. I mean, this is not important, but for me, it was really like important to remember, So I said, I have received many profound instructions on meditation repeatedly from my great masters in Tibet. After receiving teachings, remembering my guru's instructions without forgetting or discarding them, I made notes of all that I could remember. Yet the most profound of all the instructions that I received were those on how to meditate on bodhicitta. When I received these profound instructions, the idea of not practicing them made me immeasurably sad. Okay. That spurred me to make a strong determination from the depths of my heart to do my best to help living beings by means of these instructions, and to make this nectar of the Dharma my innermost practice. I hope you will always do your best to practice these profound instructions in every situation. This is my heartfelt request to you and all my students. Okay. So, yep. So the bodhicitta is it's everything. If you don't see or you don't experience the benefit of practicing bodhicitta, either you are not practicing it enough, or you may not be practicing it correctly. Otherwise, there is no way to not see the benefit of it. Even like as a ordinary person, as a negative person, as a, worldly person, if you practice bodhicitta enough and correctly, there's no way to not see the benefit of it. If you don't see or experience benefit of bodhicitta, you should investigate. Maybe you're not practicing, like correctly, maybe not enough. Okay? Keep that in mind, because I have that experience. As I said, I always receive these teachings from my great masters, but not enough to practice. And then when I look at my notes, I recognize it. And then since then, I made a commitment to practice bodhicitta as my main essential, like main practice, and to teach bodhicitta to whoever want to receive teaching from me. That was my commitment like very long time ago. So very important. Anyway, now we're talking here about Buddha nature, right? Buddha nature kind of related to, I mean, part of the Four Noble Truth. So when we talk about the Buddha nature, you really want to know how we prove that all sentient beings always have Buddha nature, especially like Westerner, you know? You want to prove that, how do we know we all have Buddha nature? Or why do all sentient beings possess Buddha nature? The Buddha nature means the enlightened essence, right? How can I see it? How can I recognize it? What is the special about Buddha nature? So all these questions, right, come to your mind, I'm sure. Many of you, maybe you don't believe that you have a Buddha nature. Maybe you don't believe that the possibility, to reach enlightenment. Maybe you don't believe in enlightenment. But the proof that we all have Buddha nature is, I think, an easy way, I would say, you can look at all the great masters. They're showing us Buddha nature. They're teaching us. They're trying to show us Buddha nature. Because if you are paying attention to these great masters in the past, if you are paying attention to their qualities, their activities, their enlightened body, speech, mind, all these qualities that they have, you can see through that, you can see their Buddha nature. Otherwise, we all are human beings, right? What is different? But we are very, very, very different, no doubt about it. We are very different. These great masters and us, very different. Why? I mean, that's clearly, we can see it. Their qualities, their, activities compared to us, totally different. So pay attention to these great masters. That's why Buddha said you have to investigate what is different. At the beginning, maybe you don't see any such qualities, but then slowly, as you practice, maybe you start to get some tiny experience of compassion, faith, recognition, and so on and so forth. You feel that I can change my negative emotions through practice, right? It's like when you grow a flower seed, at the beginning, you don't see anything. But if you keep it nurtured, then you will see little sprouts from the seed, the root of it. right? Then you believe, oh, I can grow this flower. Otherwise, at the beginning, like you have no idea. So similarly, if you are pay attention to your Buddha nature, your mind quality, you will know it. If you don't know your own Buddha nature, then you have to study. You have to learn about it. Don't just complain that you don't understand or you don't believe that you have it. As Nagarjuna said that if there is no gold under the ground, then no matter how much you search for it, you dig for it, you will never find it. That's the same thing, like if there is no Buddha nature and no potential, then no matter how much we practice, it would be impossible to attain enlightenment. Enlightenment is a recognition of the Buddha nature. So no matter how hard we tried and no matter how long we practiced it, we would never achieve any kind of quality of enlightenment if we don't have Buddha nature. It's like trying to grow a lotus flower without its seed. But that is not the case because we do have Buddha nature. Of course, if you don't learn, you will never understand it. And then it will be always always be difficult. But if you learn, you will know it. Therefore, you have to study and listen to the teachings and do meditation as much as you can. Then slowly you will understand it and you will experience it. And you can grow more and more deeply into the meaning. And your understanding will become more and more clear and firm. When you have an experience, it gives you more courage, strength, enthusiasm. Then you can really practice purely, authentically. Then you can feel that your study, your contemplation can really benefit your mind, can change. And then you will absolutely know that your mind is so different than the past, the way you think, the way you act. So we should not just hold on to our ignorance and selfish mind. Our ordinary mind tells us not to believe that you have a Buddha nature, not to learn anything about it. Also, sometimes also people also think that there's something wrong with them, something that cannot be fixed. So they have this kind of the habit of believing they do not have Buddha nature because they are struggling with self-hatred. So they can't accept everything about themselves. But as you know, to look down upon yourself really destroys your ability to increase qualities. That is really putting yourself in the garbage can. Look down upon yourself. Never think that there is a solution. No, there is no solution to all these problems. So we have to study the Dharma. If we don't study, if we don't engage in detailed analysis of the teachings, how can we free from hesitation, free from doubt? And if we have no freed ourselves from doubt, then how can we practice, right? If we never stop accumulating negative karma, we will never feel good about ourselves as a person, as a human being. But as Buddha said, you know, we can transform ourselves. So you have to make connection between you and your qualities. You have to connect with your Buddha nature, as this is the thing that makes you a perfect human being. An ordinary being like us, through the practice, can manifest the primordial wisdom of the perfect human being. Right now, like our mind is just like a dirty window, but the dirt is not the window's nature, right? As we practice, we will reveal more and more of our basic Buddha nature. So don't ever think that there is something intrinsically wrong with yourself. If there is nothing to purify, then we are fundamentally imperfect or have some negativity that can never be removed. If there is no Buddha nature, then what should we purify? Sometimes people think like, oh, this purify thing is purify, that when they use or remember this word purify, purification, negative. It's not negative. Purify is a good sign that you purify this, so then you become a pure. If there's no Buddha nature, there's nothing to purify. If the water and dirt are fundamentally inseparable, then there is no way we can ever purify the water. But that is certainly not the case. There is this pure universal nature, so we are not fundamentally imperfect. Our nature is like water. Sometimes water is mixed with dirt and it becomes kind of can't see, it becomes murky, but the water itself can always be purified. We can understand the truth of this nature through our practice, through our personal spiritual experiences. If you pay attention, even like after a short meditation, if you do your meditation perfectly, not perfect, but correctly, even after short meditation, a peaceful and relaxed mind arises. That shows we can change. So it is possible for all of us someday in the future to achieve enlightenment. You have to believe it. We will discover our enlightened capacity if we continue to practice and take this journey and take this path seriously. It is possible for all of us. That's why in the Buddhist teachings, there's no discrimination because of this fundamental nature. We all have a same potential. And from that point of view, there's no difference between us and others. Two things. There's no discrimination because we all want happiness. And we all have the Buddha nature. No difference. Buddha nature, and the Uttara Tantra says, suchness cannot be differentiated. It means we all have Buddha nature, and there is no difference whatsoever between the Buddha nature of me and the Buddha nature of you. But most of the time, people completely miss the point of Buddha nature and therefore easily misunderstand what Buddha nature is. Buddha nature is not a truly existing soul or self. What do they call it? Atma, right? Buddha nature is not a permanent thing within us. When we say nothing is permanent, then you might think, what about Buddha nature itself, right? If you think Buddha nature is permanent, then again, you miss the point of Buddha nature. Because Buddha nature doesn't have the definition of either permanent or impermanent. Both permanent and impermanent are perception of mind or conceptual thinking. So we mistakenly think something is permanent when it is not. The conception of permanent does not exist when we recognize our Buddha nature, our delusion, attachment, aversion, and when our fundamental ignorance is shattered. If we are ready to release ignorance, then Buddha nature is there already. That means the ultimate reality is not separate from us. When the clouds dissolves, we can see the sun. Buddha nature is beyond the dualistic mind, disturbing emotions. Disturbing emotions or like palm tree, no essence. When you peel all the layers of the skin of the palm tree, eventually there is no essence, right? So the tree will disappear. That means. Likewise, when you peel all the layers of your negative, the disturbing emotions, eventually there is nothing. But you discover Buddha nature. So there is something. But that something is not permanent or impermanent. It's ultimate wisdom. So this is look into your own mind to see if this is true based on your experience. You can recognize this nature in your mind. There is no Buddha other than that. So as I mentioned earlier, as ordinary beings, we have not recognized Buddha nature. We are like a window with dirt on it. As we clean the window, we get a clear view of what's outside the windows. Our mind is just like that, you know. These layers of disturbing emotions are what binds us. That's why we don't see the reality, the Buddha nature. It's like it's like a rope that looks like a snake. When Buddha sees it, he sees it as a rope. But when we see it, we are perceiving it as a snake. So we mistakenly see a rope as a snake, and that brings us negative emotions like fear. So we suffer. That's the difference between Buddha and ordinary beings. Buddha nature is same otherwise. You know, Buddha nature is like before we begin the path, during the path, after the path, it's not different. But our experience of it changes, right? We grow and develop more and more, meditate on more and more. It's like the moon. It never changes from here or from space, but as you move closer to the moon, your experience of it will different. But the moon itself is same, right? From here or from the space. When you hear Buddha nature never changes, don't think, oh, then Buddha nature is permanent. It's not like that. But really, you have to discover it. And not just discover, that's not enough. The more you are closer and closer to the moon, you can see details, all these beautiful things. From here, you can't see that. That's the same thing. You can see the moon, but you don't see everything. That's the same thing. Once you recognize the Buddha nature, don't think that, oh, there's nothing like special quality That means you have to meditate on it over and over again. Then slowly you will experience more and more. That means you're developing your wisdom, and then you will see slowly the qualities. So we should think deeply and should keep our mind pure and should keep away from selfishness. Behind all these afflictions, there is this profound, this true nature. So we are capable of practicing the Dharma and attaining liberation. So Buddha nature is the ability to understand real nature. That's why Buddha said that you are your own master. It means we are responsible, and everything depends on our effort to genuinely practice. When Buddha taught that sentient beings possess Buddha nature, it was not just for the purpose of encouraging us to practice, but Buddha wants us to know this truth, this nature. In the Uttara it says Buddha nature is ultimate. So it is not the object of contemplation or mundane meditation. Here, let me tell you what are the necessary conditions in order to discover Buddha nature, okay? Number one, as I said, is Bodhicitta. It is an essential condition for this realization. With this special motivation, the cause are complete for your liberation. Number two is confident faith. It is another essential condition for this realization. Without faith, there is no lineage transmission and blessings. You know, teachers say that realization is reached through the path of blessings, right? Blessings are reached through the path of faith. And teachers say, have faith to the lineage above, and bodhicitta to sentient beings below. So, number two, faith. Number three is you need a right teacher who has the right instructions and transmission from a pure lineage, and faith is your foundation. So when there is a good connection between the teacher and student, the transmission of Buddha nature is directed and very powerful. So this transformation comes from a unbroken living lineage. So you see, there are three essential things you need in order to discover your Buddha nature, okay? There is one cause. It is your bodhicitta. There is one condition. It is your faith. And there is one connection. It is your lineage and your teacher. These three necessary in order to discover your Buddha nature. Without these three, there's no way. So you need a cause, condition, and connection. Then, of course, your meditation is key, right? As you continue to practice the instructions, then meditative experience slowly arise in your mind. So you should know that everything cannot be discovered at once. But you should know that in order to discover the Buddha nature, the foundations, the necessary cause, condition, connection, you need to first, you have to develop that in order to recognize the Buddha nature. This Westerner, some of this, I'm very skeptical. Some Westerner teachers, they give this Dzogchen teaching in publicly. I saw the videos. I think maybe I'm totally wrong, but I think it's not ready. They're not ready to teach like that. But that's not their fault. That's their teacher's fault. Whoever their teacher, they should not let them do that kind of thing. Damage the Buddhism, you know? Destroy it. You have to build these foundations in order to recognize the Buddha nature, discover the Buddha nature. So Buddha nature is, as I said, you know, paused by all sentient beings, but you know, it is kind of buried very deeply in the defilements of worldly ignorance. Therefore, it remains unknown for a very long time. But if you create a good cause, good condition, and good connection in your mind, then the inner realization and deep meditation will slowly arise. So again, you should not thinking that everything, you know, it cannot be discovered at once. You have to just go step by step, you know. Then all the enlightened qualities can manifest just from Buddha nature. And enlightened being can liberate thousands of beings. Buddha said that in his sutra, that if you are walking on the path with a great torch, and when you reach the end of the path, what should you do with this torch? He said, you should not throw away this great torch. You should give it to those other people who are in the dark. So the best way to help others is giving the right teachings and sharing your good experience with other people who want to know about it. So as you build your good foundations, your knowledge, education, and your meditation, and then once you discover your Buddha nature and with right motivation, then you can teach everything. Then you become like this great torch. You can help those who are in the dark. You can help those people who are suffering. So therefore, again, in order to discover the Buddha nature, you need to build this at least 3 foundations. Take your responsibility and keep going. And slowly, 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 your meditation experience arise in your mind that gives you really confidence, encouragement, and enthusiasm. So that's how you develop your meditation. And as ordinary people, we just sometimes we don't have a good meditation, then you just give up. Sometimes you have a good meditation, then you really like develop proud or, so it's just, yeah, that's that. And I want to also mention here, like, maybe we don't have meditation or time meditation, but if you have this book, there is a section, Shamatha and Vipassana meditation. There's some, I think, good meditation methods that are from my teachers and also from my own experience. So I think if you keep that and when you meditate, they may help your meditation. It's on page 117. 3 methods. I really like this. When I meditate, they help me like keep my meditation, like it's called 3 methods. Resting, continuous resting, and repeatedly resting. And then also there are a lot of other meditation instructions on this shamatha and vipassana section. So you should read and try to follow that. It may help your meditation. May not, but good to try, So, yeah, I think that's all about the Four Noble Truths and the Buddha nature. And I'm going to stop here, and then the last section I will read something else. I will talk about different things, different topic.